Hi, CorasAtHerCorner here. Now this is actually a reaction video. I'm going to break it up into a couple of sections. I'm going to put some timestamps down below. This is actually a reaction to the multi-level marketing company Beachbody with a call that they had that now has mysteriously been put down. But luckily, with permission from Mac Attack, I was able to use his video to do this reaction because this is actually how I found him. I found this video a little over a year ago, so I have not watched this video since then, but I have subscribed to him. He has great content. I'm going to put not only his reaction video down below, but also his page. So if you would like, go ahead, go check out his stuff. He does a lot of anti-MLM stuff and a lot of exposing gurus, and he's awesome. Now in this video, I want to try to cut out as much as reaction of his as I can, because this is not about reacting to his video. This is about actually reacting to the call. If you would like I said, the link is down below for his video. Go ahead and check it out. But the reason why I asked him to do this video is because I myself am a former NICU mom. My youngest was actually in the NICU for 138 days. Timestamps below, I'm going to put in the quick brief story of the birth and NICU story of my son, a little bit about multi-level marketing and Beachbody, and last but not least, the actual reaction to the video. And I'm sorry this is very long, but Mac has said in his video that he did not cut any of this call whatsoever. You'll notice with mine, there'll be a couple cuts, mainly because I'm just, like I said, you want to hear his opinion? Go ahead and click on the video link down below. Now, the story of my son. He was born in October of 2019. He was actually due in January of 2020, but as you notice, he's a NICU baby. He was born at 28 weeks. The thing with him was he was not alone. I was actually pregnant with twins. I had a really rough pregnancy with getting HG, which I'll just type down below the actual term for it because I can't pronounce it. I was hospitalized a couple times for dehydration. Being twins can definitely double the hormones, so that's what made it harder. But as time had gone on, we had hit October a couple weeks before he was born, and we went to an ultrasound because I was on high risk because my twins actually shared the same placenta, and it can cause twin transfusion, which the placenta will give more nutrients to one twin over the other, and that can be a very dangerous thing. And to find out, we had lost my one twin. I was completely devastated. I still, of course, am devastated because I lost my son, but I still had one twin left. And a couple weeks later, he was born at 28 weeks. I actually delivered my deceased son at home by myself with my almost 2-year-old running around, my oldest. And I had to make a couple calls to make sure I got it. I had to make a couple calls to make sure I got to the hospital on time, which I did. And I had to go in for an emergency C-section. And they took him off to the NICU that was only 45 minutes away, which was not too bad. I was in the hospital for 5 days. That last day, I was really antsy to go and see my son in the NICU because I haven't, because our hospital doesn't have a NICU. And so my husband only visited once or twice while he was there to drop off milk. I convinced my husband that night I got home from the hospital to go see our son, and we had somebody watch our oldest while we did go see him. At that point, I got to hold him for the very, very first time. He was only 2 pounds, 4 ounces, 15 inches. And when they told me I could hold him, I couldn't believe it. And I was amazed. I was like, yay, I get to hold my baby. Now, the next day, we were supposed to meet with my mom and go see him in the hospital. because the hospital is like halfway between me and where she lives. And we were going to meet them, and I get a call saying that they have to rush him down to Indianapolis, which was 3 hours away, because they weren't exactly sure what was wrong, that he may have some hole in his bowels, and that it has to be rushed down to take care of to see what's actually wrong. Sorry, I had to switch sceneries because my kids were actually getting up, so I recorded this reaction and just about everything else before this, before they woke up. When they were taking him down to Indianapolis, I wasn't even sure if he was going to make it, because the doctors flat out said this could be a life-threatening thing. Since it was 3 hours away, it's not like we can make a daily trip with my husband having to work and with us having a 1-year-old at home. So I was unsure of what to do. He ended up getting the surgery. It was for neck. I'm going to put the actual term down below right here because I can't pronounce it. But pretty much he did have a hole in his bowels, and they had to disconnect his bowels, get rid of the dead intestines that were in there, and he had to have them disconnected. He was born in October. He had them disconnected until December. He had to have a second surgery to close them back up. Well, how he ate during this time was they hooked him up to an IV, and the way to describe it is it's a nutritional IV. It's like getting food still through the placenta is exactly what it's like. But because of this, he was not able to really practice sucking, not have bottles like some premature babies are able to have once they're born. So this left us with, is he going to be able to eat ever again? Swallow. So, and it's also the going back and forth. I did have one family member for a while taking me back and forth till they got sick. And then I actually found a way to take transportation to get there and back. So I would spend, for a while, it was like, spend 1 week with my son at home, 1 week with my infant in the NICU. And my husband didn't really visit very much because he was the one that was supporting the family. So we also had to find places where our son could go so I can go be with our other sons. And then eventually came to the point where I didn't have very much anybody who was reliable, and I was only able to see my infant son twice a week. During this 138-day stay, it was a living nightmare. I never knew when he's going to come home. They can never tell you when they're going to come home. You have to go by progress and not, oh, well, when is he coming home? I'd always hear that. Here I was supposed to be coming home with 2 babies in January of 2020, and one came home in an urn and the other one still wasn't home. In December, when they reconnected his bowels, we worked on getting the fluids through, and it came down to it that he was going to have to come home on a feeding tube eventually, because that was the only progress that he was still working on. So he would have been considered special needs being on a feeding tube. It's still a pain in the butt to deal with all that, because we had to be trained on what to do. We had to do parent care for 48 hours to learn and then prove that we can do it without a nurse or doctor's help. Eventually on March 7th, 2020, he came home with a feeding tube, and that is when quarantine happened. So I spent most of my quarantine, if not all of my quarantine, taking care of a baby and a toddler, one that had a feeding tube, where I still hadn't had time to grieve my other son. Now, when you come home from the NICU, from what I picked up, at least the NICU we went to, because it was a level 1 hospital, which is where the sickest of the sick kids go within the state, they got set up with therapists, and one of them was a speech therapist, and we worked and we worked. I did everything I could, not to push him, but to get him motivated for food. And the next thing I knew, he was finally eating food, but we had to be careful, watch out for choking. It was a big process, and eventually he was eating food without any choking, nothing. The thing is, though, you have to be able to take food by mouth for quite a while until they finally take the feeding tube out. So he had that feeding tube. He came home on March 7th. So of 2020, he had that feeding tube put in a week or two before. I think it was a week before. And he had that feeding tube until after his first birthday on November 17th of 2020. I learned how to take care of him and learn how to deal with the feeding tube. But now he's 2.5 years old, and the only proof that he has of being in the NICU now on his body is the scars. One where they opened him up for his neck, and the other one that is proof that the feeding tube was there. Other than that, he's a very happy and healthy kid. Now on to multi-level marketing. I will say this is all my opinion. These are based off of my research and some of the research of others that I have viewed on YouTube. Though I haven't made any content for it, I still would consider myself part of the anti-MLM community. I'm very against multi-level marketing. It's very scammy and it's very... Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't really know what it is I'll give you an example. Like this one right here, the reaction I'm doing is Beachbody. There's also others out there like Avon, there's Unique, there's Color Street. There are many companies, and they are very predatory, and this video right here is kind of proof on how they push it. How some of their consultants push it. Though I am friends with people who are consultants now, I've had very little problems with them, and I honestly think sometimes it also depends on their level of where they're at in the company, how they've been trained. I have been quite a few times, you know, when you get your personal messages, your DMs, people are like, I have this great business opportunity and I think you would be perfect for it. It's a mass message. They're not single-handedly picking you. It's a mass message, and it's the same one, and they try to convince anybody to join because honestly they don't care. As long as they're getting a downline to sign up, pay the company, and then say they're business owners. Now usually when you see income claims and stuff like that, you're supposed to report to the FTC, and they should be doing something about it. But I'm also reading this book called Ponzi-nomics, and it's by Robert Fitzpatrick. I've only started it, but it's already pointed out some very shady stuff that the government is involved with. So this is why multi-level marketing is probably still doing the things that they're doing today. Also, if you look at their compensation plans, you'll see like so many. Just go to their websites. As long as there's a compensation plan, you can see the truth. Like 97 point some odd people make like nothing. If you look at the average, it's if you're going to be joining a business like that, start with the lowest first, and you can sell what possibly you're going to make, which is $0. And then the further you get in the company, you'll notice at one point you hit 0.0 some odd percent, and those are the ones that are making the bank. Well, yeah, more than likely they've been there since the beginning, and it's just from recruiting people. What some of them don't understand is, well, eventually you're going to run out of people to recruit, and somebody's going to be left on the bottom. Not everybody can be rich and stuff like that, and that's even if they're being honest. And some of them don't even have their compensation plans up, and that is because there's no law that requires them to do it. Now, since this does deal with Beachbody, Deanna Mims actually did a really good video on their 2021 compensation plan, and I'm going to put that link down below. I think it would just be perfect, just so you can see how it's done. But the big thing about these companies is they encourage their consultants to go out there to share these sob stories just to get them to join, so that the big people on top can make the actual money. Always do your research with that. If you ever have somebody be like, yeah, I got a business opportunity for you, more than likely it's multi-level marketing. In my opinion, it's a pyramid scheme. I also want to point out with multi-level marketing video, Kip Boga actually did one on it too, and I was surprised when I came across it. I was like, wait, why should I be surprised? Because it's like one of the scammiest things. And I will find that video and I will post the link down below. It has a little bit of intake on my views of multi-level marketing. Now, I also want to point out, before I start this reaction video, she did mention about infertility problems, you know, and then her kid being sick and stuff. I had infertility problems too, and they will target on that as well, especially there's a couple of them like, yeah, this will help because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is PCOS. There's no cure for PCOS. There's stuff to get rid of some of the symptoms, but there's no cure for PCOS. So, enjoy the video. Here we go.
Here we go with the video.
I will say with the Diamond Surge, you guys, you can, it's, even though it started today, you can join at any time over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You just have to qualify. So once you get 4 active coaches and you've hit Success Club in May or this month in June, you get to come in the group. So whether it's tomorrow, a week, 2 weeks, get in that group, guys. Like, honestly, it's going to be worth it. Okay. And just before we get this, Sarah's hopping on a call. She's like, didn't you ask me to come speak? And we're here. This happens a lot, Sarah. We tend to ramble on at the start, but it's really important for us to recognize people. I just want to say one thing, because Kim, you haven't been recognized for 15 star individually. So, I mean, unbelievable. And guys, you guys all know what, like, when I looked in the back office in January 29th of this year, so 6 months ago or whatever that is, Kim was a 1-star diamond. Her official ranking was a 1-star diamond coach.
Now, think about Beachbody. I have learned from watching Deanna Mims. They have a lot of diamond tiers. So when you reach diamond, it usually still is not very much you're making. That's what I learned from Deanna Mims. She actually used to be a Beachbody coach, and now she speaks for the anti-MLM community.
You know, and I'm not saying this egotistically, but you guys all put Kim on a pedestal, as you should. But she was a 1-star diamond coach in January 29th. And I just hope you look at that and find some sort of, you know, relation to what she just did in the matter of 6 months. To go from 1-star to a superstar diamond coach is kind of ridiculous, you know. And it's funny, I had someone ask me, they're like, how did Kim and I do what we just did? Like, how did we make history? And it's really, for me, it's really simple. And I touched on this in the Surge to Diamond group. It's really simple for me. And I hope what I'm about to say will, like, kind of register with you.
I'm sorry, I'm with Mac with this. Yeah, hurry it up and shut up. Because it's them rambling, just praising how she has gone further up into the business, which pyramid. And yeah, it's like you said, we're rambling.
It's like, how did you and Kim do this? It's really simple. Because it was really important to us. This business from day one was really important to me. I made it a priority in my life. My kids still got fed, don't worry. My wife still knew I loved her. I still went to my job, got my bonuses at my job, still sold a lot of pet food at my job. It was all taken care of. But I made the business a priority from day one for 5 straight years. And that's how we did it. It's really, really important to me. Is it important to you? Do you respect this business? Do you understand this business? Because that's part of respecting it. If you don't respect this business, you don't really want to learn about it, and you won't learn about it. And that'll affect your decisions, how you talk to people.
I like how he's talking about how this business is so great, but yet he still had another job. Honestly, a job, a real business, you're not gonna expect another job to support you. I get, you know, you're starting out, but the thing is, though, he paid to get into this business. He paid. Like, it's one thing to start your own business, get your own money aside, and build your business that way, but you're paying somebody who is already a company to be part of this business. What? And then they say, oh, you know, like Walmart's a scam. No. And then they say like Walmart is a pyramid scheme. When I worked in a retail store, I never paid to get that position. It paid my bills. It made me a decent wage to where I could live. Anyways, let's continue. If you ever notice, sometimes while this guy's rambling, like I said, I haven't seen this in over a year. Mac might make me laugh a little because I'm with him.
Tonality, and this is stuff I touched on in the surge group today, but it's really important you understand that. After the call I did for them today in that group, I wanted to touch on this. How important is this to you? And if it's not, that's okay. But if you're...
Number one, do you respect this business? What the f***? See, you don't respect this business. First part of respecting this business. What? Alright. Relax. And also, you're going to hear a lot of this. You know, if it's not important to you, that's fine. From everybody who speaks today, you're going to hear a lot of it. You're going to hear a lot of, oh, I mean, well, and if it's not important to you, then it's fine. It's such a manipulative little phrase.
If you want to know the secret and why people do incredible things in this business, that's the secret. It's really important to them. So they make it a priority. And when something's super important to you and you put internal consequences on something, the actions just follow. Your actions of what you have to do, they just follow that path because you're placing this extreme urgency and importance on the goal. And I think for Kim and I from day one, that's what we've always done. That's just it. It's just really important to us.
See, and this is their way of like, you know, you should put this first. You should put this first. You could put something first for a long time and nothing comes of it. Like this, where you have to get into the business early and you have to recruit people. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be part of a company to where their main motivation is, you know, get more people to join, get more people to join. I didn't sign up for manager position whenever I got hired. And working with that, I've told plenty of people who've come to me, oh, you know, you should join this business. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't do sales. And this is before I knew they had to recruit people.
To us. So you have to find that within you. How important is this for you? And the answer doesn't have to be super important. It doesn't, because you're your own individual. You deem what's important in your life. But if you want to know the secret to success, that's really what it is. And people who accomplish huge things in this business, they just kind of elevate this to a place in their life that takes a lot of them. It's important to them, and it takes a priority in their life. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it takes a priority in their life. But the payoff?
I'm sorry, but when my kid was in the hospital, that would have been the least of my concerns.
The payoff's insane. The payoff's unbelievable. And I'm not talking about like payoff income wise. I'm just like everything.
And if anybody comes to try at me with, well, that's why you're not so successful, you know. No. I've always said, you could go and get another job because they can easily replace you. When it comes down to my family, my children, my husband, I can't replace them. They are here now, in the present, and this is the time I have with them. Why would I want to spend most of the time on my phone trying to recruit people just so they can give money to higher ups? I'm sorry, but my children are more important.
That comes with it. But that's the hard part with human nature is we tend to want to stay comfortable. We don't want to do the hard things because our environment, we're designed to be comfortable. Thermostat, hot, cold, we're designed to be really comfortable. So it goes against the grain of your human nature to get uncomfortable and do things that are outside of that. So that's how we did this.
Sometimes discomfort is your human nature telling you that something is a bad idea. And a lot of the time, it's right.
And if you want big things, make this important for yourself. Make this really important in your life. And that's when the actions start to follow. Man, Sarah, thank you for your patience. We're 16 minutes in and you're like, I'm ready to speak. So I'm going to let Sarah tell her story and a bit more about that because it's incredible. And when I heard about Sarah's story, I didn't talk to Sarah about it. I heard her story from someone else and I'm like, I need to have Sarah on our team call. And then I reached out to Sarah. She's like, I'd love to do a team call for you guys. It's one of the things about this network I love is everyone gives back. Sarah's been a coach for 3 years, 36 months in Success Club. She's also a 1-star diamond in her second CBC already, but she's a 5-star diamond elite coach. I don't know if you're in 6-star qual. I can't remember if you told me that, but she's already qualified and locked in elite for this year, which is massive. And I think what strikes me the most about Sarah is just her story. And like, if you in your head have any reasons about why you can't achieve success, I feel like Sarah's sort of the excuse killer. Like she's going to just wipe out everything you've ever told of yourself about why you can't do this business. She's kind of going to be like, whoop.
This is really important here. So let's remember when we get into Sarah and her story that this upline here, this guy, has chosen this Sarah woman to be the speaker in order to show his downline why they don't have any quote unquote excuses. Okay, so let's keep that in context because it kind of changes the whole tone of it.
It's possible. It's possible. So Sarah, welcome to our call. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I feel like I was listening to you talk and I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's like I'm listening to a training from you guys. Cause I'll be honest, 3 years ago when I started, I literally think the diamond bed that I went diamond in 3 years ago, I think you and Kim were like doing, it's like some sort of dynasty diamond push or something. It's just a little bit crazy. So huge honor. So thank you for having me and just allowing me this opportunity. I was going to ask, do you mind if we do share, like if I can share my screen?
Yeah, of course. I think you could just go ahead and do it, right?
This is a really annoying section, so we're just gonna skip over their tech ineptitude.
Okay, so I am Sarah England. I have been a coach for 3 years, like Jamie said. Coaching came into my, so I should say I have 3 kids. I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 2-year-old son who has special needs, Sam. But coaching came into my life. I am somebody who has a nurse turned stay-at-home mom. And I really struggled with the 1 to 2 transition. I had some complications from my C-section that kind of left me just like, for all there's medical professionals, my C-section incision opened up. I couldn't go upstairs. We had a 2-story house. It was like a whole thing. And my husband had to take extended time off from work. And I feel like on top of the struggle with the 1 to 2 transition and just not feeling like myself, I just found myself in like this blah area. And
I'm going to honestly say right now, the way she is talking to everyone who's on that call, this is the feeling I'm getting right now. This is kind of how group talks work, the group meetings that I've been to where we've had NICU babies and we're struggling because majority of them are still in NICU. It's very rare to see a mother in those groups that the baby is not in the NICU anymore and grown, but it still happens, especially when a kid is still special needs or is going to be special needs for all their life. And mothers like that definitely need the help that they can get, including having group meetings and talking. It irritates me that this is how she's talking to them right now, because she knows how to interact with mothers like this, and it's scary. And You know, it's that touch your heart feeling, because I've been there. But the fact is, like, you're gonna see it does move on from just talking about her and her children and her struggles, because she's gonna relate to it, to this multi-level marketing program.
I was like not feeling like me at all, and really struggling with like, okay, I'm a mom, this is what I've always wanted, but I had such guilt for still feeling like unfulfilled in this. And so one night I was nursing my son, and I found this. My coach was running a free, back then BOD was free for 30 days. It was like T25 for 25 days. And I was like, oh my God, I love Shaun T. I had occasionally tried to do Insanity way back in the day. Never ever finished it because commitment problems with fitness programs until being a coach. But I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it. And I clearly filled out a form and then had a panic attack. And I was like, what did I just do? I've never finished any fitness program in my life. I was like, but okay, it's a free group. I can do this. And I honestly like was so taken aback by it. I never expected to like it so much. I am not somebody that was a huge health and fitness person at all. My previous experience with health and fitness was my husband, who was in the Army, like go to the gym with him and he'd like try and get me to get on a treadmill. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Let me just go eat my fast food. Like I was just was not my wheelhouse. I did not grow up this way. So it was something so new for me, taking care of myself, eating healthy. And I literally a weekend, my husband was like, whatever you were doing, just like, please don't stop. Like you're happy, just keep doing this. And so I did. And that first picture is like my very first transformation, which was my coming out post. And I honestly fell in love with coaching and really just kind of dug into it. And
I'm sorry, I can't tell the difference between which one is the before and which is the after. Like I can't even tell. What
It's the way she's standing.
Is it the left or the right?
It's the way she's standing. Oddly enough, when I was a lot younger, I was signed to a really small modeling agency where I didn't get any gigs, by the way. And they had me do some photo shoots, and it's the way she's standing, it's the lighting and everything. And I'm pretty sure, I'm going to guess Beachbody does teach their coaches this, to have before and after photos. So, because obviously it's going to take a long time to get actual results with, you know, the exercise program and stuff, the exercise programs and stuff, which, you know, obviously that's going to work because you're out there, you're being active. It's the Shakeology they really push, and I don't know anything about that. I could look it up, maybe put something down below. But the way she's standing and the lighting and everything, yeah, it's exactly that.
Like I don't know which one is the before and which is the after. I don't even know.
Had Emerald in my first week and went Diamond in 90 days. And I remember going to my first summit that July of 2016 and 2017, sorry, July of 2017, I think it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is exactly, like it was everything that I had thought it was going to be. And I was like, it just like propelled me. And I was so excited to build this business. And we came home and I found out I was pregnant with my third. And I was like, say what? This was not on our plan. It was never our plan, because I had a lot of trouble trying to have our two kids. I had a history of infertility and miscarriages. I had one before my daughter and two before my son. And I was like, if I have to go through that again, like we were just not in a place, like I could not physically or mentally go through that again. So having a third baby was like, oh my God, if we lose another baby, I could not take that on. It was already so hard for me to overcome that. And so by the time we found out I was pregnant and I went to the doctor, they were like, okay, you know, well, it's already time for you to have like all your tests, like all the blood work and genetic testing and everything. And I was like, okay, well, that tells me if it's a boy or a girl, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. Because I'm a planner and I want to know, do I keep the girl clothes or the boy clothes? And so we had the genetic testing, and that rocked our world because we found out that my son would have Down syndrome. So not only were we having this third child that we were totally unprepared for, he would also have special needs. And to say that I was angry, I was sad, I was thinking about like what our life would be like. I still don't feel like I'm prepared for this journey because it's hard. But at the time, I mean, there was a lot of anger, and I had just started this coaching journey, and I was like, like, it's one thing, I think, as coaches too, like me, it was like I had started kind of after I'd had a transformation and I had kind of overcome some of that postpartum. So it was like, okay, I was kind of talking about how, in hindsight, I'd already lived through the hard and I wasn't sharing it as I was going through it. This would be a journey that I was like, I'm going to literally have to share all of this as I'm moving through it. And I was like, I can either hide from it,
So everything she said so far is fine. You know, it sounds, I mean, that had to just be devastating. It's really sad. It's really unfortunate. I don't think that should ever happen to anybody. I can't imagine how hard that would be. I don't have kids now, and I don't ever plan on like adopting any. And I'm sure that had to be just the most devastating thing that someone could experience. But now I want you to remember the context we're in. We're in a Beachbody Zoom call, a team call. And the goal of this call, according to the mail upline from before, is to show people why they have no excuse. And as at the beginning of this call, I kind of saw her as more innocent, but when you listen to what she is saying, what she's actually saying and what she actually means, you start to get a little bit less sure of that.
Introvert in me wanted to run and retreat. I was like, where I could share his life and what this is going to be. And at the time, I just had no idea. I mean, in my mind, having a child with Down syndrome was not something I was prepared for, and it was really overwhelming. And then he decided to surprise us even more, and he was born at 25 weeks the following January. So he was 1 pound, 4 ounce, and 12 inches long, and his diaper was smaller than a credit card. And that second picture is the first time I got to hold him. He was 3 weeks old. And so there was just a big part of me. It was like continuing on this business. My coach even said, it's like, Sarah, like you have an impossible situation. You don't need to be doing this. And I was like, no, please. Like it was always
someone actually made sense. I mean, if she was doing it to keep her mind off of stuff, that's fine. But I don't care what anybody says. When that baby's in the hospital, they need you. When that baby is at home and sick, it needs its mom and dad. But
something that it wasn't like a burden. I use it as a blessing. Sorry, my brother keeps to like take my watch off. It was a burden, not a blessing. I mean, it was a blessing, not a burden. And I just had to, it was something that him being born so early just completely like turned our world upside down, having 2 kids at home and 1 in the hospital and trying to do the rat race of going back and forth. And we had all these impossible scenarios, and I just wanted to keep doing just a little bit of something that was for me, that would sustain me even in the hard. And we ultimately spent 182 days in the hospital. That's 7.5 months of his life, of our life, between the NICU and the PICU. And I just remember that second picture of me sitting next to his hospital bed when he was in the PICU, and I was watching Summit from my laptop. And there was Shanti was coming out with a new program.
I just want to say, she said it was a blessing. My son's whole NICU stay was not once a blessing. The loss of my son was not once a blessing.
20, and I was like, oh my God, this is like made for me. I need a redemption moment. The last 7 months have been hell. And it was like, coaches can earn a spot in this group. if you earn your, like, it was like going to be a competition for success skill points. And I was like, game on. Like, I need something to focus on. Give me something. Like, the most powerless place you can be is sitting in a chair next to your child in a hospital bed that you can't hold. You can't do anything. Like, nothing feels as powerless as that does. And I was like, give me something to control, because I needed a win. And so I really did that. He came home a few weeks later. I earned my highest SC ever at the time. It was 52 points. I was so freaking proud. And I went into 1-star qualification that same month whenever I got home. It was never about, for me at the time, it was never about, like, of course, hitting the SC was like challenge track, but I really just focused on showing up always, and in whatever capacity that was. And I continued on and kept working, and I was so excited because I was like, my whole goal was to hit 1-star and go to NLC, right? Because that's the big thing. You want to go, have your hotel paid for, and then I was all set to go, and then my son got RSV and the flu, and we were back in the hospital. And so I kind of felt like it was like just one thing after the other. And then, you know, I kept on keeping on. And my goal was like, okay, my corporate mentor, who's so sweet, she's like, okay, Sarah, she's like, you can do this again, hit 2-star, get your points. I'm going to talk to somebody. Because usually they don't give you a chance to go twice. It's one and done type of thing. And because of extenuating circumstances, she's like, if you can get this year, she's like, I'm totally going to make it possible for you to go. Mary is like amazing. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it.
I will say, back when I was attending the groups when my son was still in the NICU, they do suggest like self-care, you know, take care of yourself. So I can kind of see why her successing in that kind of gave her a boost. But, you know, every mom in that NICU is different. Every dad in that NICU is different, because even dads are affected too. And that would have not been mine. And so, you know, picking up the pieces of the life and everything, because he came home with oxygen and a feeding tube, and he's still on CPAP. So we had, like, thankful for my nursing background, because we had like an ICU in our house happening. And so at home, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing this, just going to keep plugging along. And literally a week of 2-star qual left, my diamond quit, and literally canceled quit, not just like quit, I'm not going to do it, like shattered downline. And I'll never forget that moment. I mean, as much as I hated it, it taught me everything, because I'm always going to have a Hail Mary from here on out. Like, like that was my whole plan going into 5-star. I'm like, what's my backup plan? Because I need one, because you never know. I mean, I love my girls, but I also know that people are wild cards sometimes, and you just can't control what.
And that's the problem with multi-level marketing. When you're recruiting people, you know, you do rely on them, but the thing is, though, you're relying on them. Like, literally, if they were to drop out, you can drop down. In a business, say, like Walmart or the retail I used to work in, if a couple employees would quit on their manager, that manager's still a manager. Well, unless, you know, there's this investigation and something's wrong. You know, you get it.
They're going to do. And so I was pissed, but also taught a massive teaching moment for me to, like, always have a Hail Mary. And I picked up the pieces, and we did end. I did get to go to NLC in January, and I did end the year 2-star premiering, picked up all those pieces last fall. But the pivotal moment for me, I think that ultimately landed, you know, got us to 5-star and elite so early this year, was walking into NLC after everything, the culmination of all of these events and all these victors, was that, like, I had climbed this mountain of, like, not giving up on myself, of, like, not giving up on, like, this business and what this was. And it wasn't always, like, about running my butt into the ground to do this. It was more about me trying to build a sustainable foundation of, like, this, of what this has provided and the community that it has given us, and just, like, so many things. And I walked in there, and they're like, you can go sit at the front, because Premier and Elite gets to go sit at the front. And I was like, hot damn, like, I was so proud of myself, so freaking proud of myself, right? Like, there was, like, I did this, and I remember I grabbed that Elite card, and it's literally on my whiteboard over there, and I was like, this is happening. Like, it just fueled me. Like, the curtain had been pulled back. My son's health is better than it ever been, and I was like, I feel like I finally had the green light to just go. Like, I've kind of been in this place a lot with this business, with his health. It's like, you know, when your child is sick, like, you can only do what you can do, but I was my bare minimum was always showing up, and it wasn't, I was never going to give up on it. And so the thing about it is being vulnerable. If you've never read Brene Brown's Daring Greatly, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when you have no control over the outcome. And for me, with my
Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It is not, I have to read this again, sorry. It is having the courage to show up and be seen when you have no control over the outcome. So what I picked up from that is, show people that, you're still standing strong and stuff. I haven't picked up anything multi-level marketing.
son, I never had a control. I still can't. How he eats, how hard he works at developing and walking and talking and sign language and all the things, all these avenues that I did not want to know about, but I know about and I'm learning about, and I leaned into what could I control. So how did I work through the hardships? I focused on being something to someone and not everything to everyone. And what did that mean? It was showing up no matter what. And in some capacity, like there was never a period on my social media, you can go back, that I went dark for more than probably 24 hours, if I'm being totally honest. And there was a lot of really scary moments of, are we going to get a call at 2 a.m. to go up to the hospital, and husband and I sleeping on cots on the side of the bed. Like there was, because of what we had built with this community, in that moment after he was born, I was lost, to be honest. I searched, like, this is why hashtags are so important on Instagram. I was searching hashtag micropreemie, hashtag 25-weeker. I did not know a single person that had had a preemie baby.
Searching hashtags for her community so that she can scam them into her pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Searching hashtags for her community for other people who have had premature babies to scam them into her pyramid scheme.
That's horrible.
I did not know a single person that had had a child with Down syndrome or the combination, which is extremely rare. And I was like, please, somebody, please God, somebody give me a success story. Like I needed to see a light at the end of the tunnel. I just needed somebody to show me that they were home with their child who had been in a situation like ours. And so I was like, okay, if I am looking for this, I know other people are going to be looking for this as well. And so I was like, okay, so what if I just keep doing what I've always been doing? And it's not perfect and it's messy. And you can see that picture, there's like crap all over our bedroom and medical equipment, but that is my life. And for women who are in my community, that and seeing a giraffe CPAP mask in the background is very relatable and real. And so I was just like, I just took what I was doing, and it was my therapy as much as like they needed it as much as I needed it type of scenario. And I always just led with what was real and authentic to me. I have a really hard time like the whole being fake, because I just built this so much about being authentic and true to me. And so if I'm having a crappy day, I would say I was having a crappy day. If I was having a great day, I would say I was having a great day. And the most amazing part about it is like the women in the community that was built for me having this platform and from being willing to put myself out there, like they are rooting for us no matter what. It was never honestly a thought in my mind to just disappear in these 3 years, because like now these women who literally I've met from Instagram, who our kids that I've never met in real life, but they're almost like sisters and family, because we have like such a unique connection, and these strangers turn to friends, turn to challengers, turn to coaches. Like it just...
That's horrible. That is horrible, because you are using these women. You're using their vulnerability, because they are at the most vulnerable in their life right now with their children in the hospital. There's nothing they can do. There's some that can't even hold their babies. And there was times where I couldn't hold my son because he had had surgery, and I had to wait days to even hold him. Sometimes a week. You know, that's horrible, because she's preying on these women who are at their most vulnerable. You know, when your kid is in the NICU, you feel helpless. There's nothing you can do. And yes, they say self-care, but that's just targeting them, because they need somebody right now. They need people to talk to, people they can relate with. That is manipulation. It's horrible. It's predatory. It's horrible. If somebody would have came up to me asking me to join their pyramid scheme while I was in that vulnerable position, like, I'd be one of them that would pretty much tell them to F off. But that's horrible, because you're using them and their vulnerability for your stupid pyramid scheme. Sorry, multi-level marketing.
They started seeing what I was doing, and they in turn began to be curious. And then their friends were talking about it, and then they were talking about it, and it just became this community. And now it's like my groups, 75% of them are probably moms that have a kid that was in the hospital, or medical moms, or preemie moms, or something like that. And so it just
vulnerable moms
created this massive layer of support that I needed, and it just in turn they needed as well. I learned that it was a really underserved community, and that something that a lot of people didn't talk about. And so I just wanted to be a light and a resource and a place of support. And again, like, it's not for me. I think I needed it so much that it just flowed out naturally. And so when I was thinking about, like, what was I going to post and share, it was more like, what did I need to talk about and get off my chest? Like, what? Because I knew if I was feeling this way, other people were feeling this way too. Like, I needed the connections, and the connections are what develop the relationships. And so leaning into my community, that was like, my challengers and the coaches were a source of positivity for me. And so it was never a negative, like, oh my God, I had that left to do today. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the only positive in my day right now, is seeing these women have a success and getting an email. Like, I'm telling you, like,
no, you're more worried about getting these women underneath you so that you can climb higher in your business. You don't care about, the struggles they're going through. All you care about is reaching to the top of your pyramid.
It's nothing more powerful after having a crappy day, or like being up all night, or whatever our situation was at the time, and like getting an email of like someone thanking me for something, like fuel to my fire. Like, I'm going to keep doing this, because it is literally, sometimes it was the only positive in my day, was Beachbody and the coaching and the community that it gave me. And for a long time, one of the things I did, I lost the fluff, and just like, I was super organized in terms of Google Streak, streamlining challenge group guides, buying them. Like, I didn't have a lot of time for all the extras and the fluff, and that was okay. My stories weren't super pretty. I mean, back then, all the fancy story slides weren't even really a thing. You'd write, or you just talk in your stories, and that's what I did. And so I don't necessarily think that sometimes it's like it has to be the prettiest picture and the best graphic and the best thing. And sometimes the best thing you can do is just show your face and say your truth in your story, because people want to hear what you have to say. Consistency. You also asked me to say, what did.
That's the thing with multi-level marketing. They always like to get their consultants, coaches, whatever they're called, to share their stories, so that way they can be relatable to other people, and those other people would join their pyramid scheme. Sorry, multi-level marketing business.
Jamie asked me like what I thought my biggest strength was, and I think consistency and just being vulnerable is that. I kept a service mindset in terms of like, what did I need was likely what they needed to. built trust by being relatable and authentic. I tend to share and talk about the things that are not often talked about. Like my son's feeding struggles. Good God, I never knew that can of worms existed, but it does. Kids, special needs, and preemies have horrible times eating. And so like just the vulnerability of that, like there was a story one time, a post that did so well, and I was like so afraid to share it because it was me losing my cool and my temper on my child, who we have sign language and that's about it right now. And it was like it can be such a frustrating and tireless situation. And I was just like, this is where I am right now. And so many people just wanted to give me hope in their story. And I was like, there was no cutting me down or saying, oh, you shouldn't have gotten frustrated with your child. It was like, I have been there, it's going to get better. And I'm like, this is what, like, thank God I have this. Like,
honestly, even without Beachbody, there are groups out there for that. There's therapists out there for that. I'm part of at least 1 or 2 Facebook groups for NICU children that you don't need to join Beachbody or anything like that to connect, to share your story.
In my world where we live and like outside of Houston, I'm like, there is nobody in our immediate community that I've still been able to connect with that has a child that has issues or is living the life we're living. And I'm just like, if it wasn't for Instagram and me, and it sounds so crazy, but if it wasn't for this platform and the relationships, it's like, seriously, almost my lifeline some days to feel a little bit of normalcy of these connections and conversations. And so I think the other thing is that I showed up when people expected me not to. I knew that if I wanted to be successful and I wanted coaches to be successful, I had to show them what was possible and show them that.
Honey, if you're watching this, which probably won't, it's fine. There are other ways to be successful. There are other ways to get better after you've been through a trauma, like losing a child or having a kid with special needs. You know, you're strong and you don't need Beachbody for that. You don't. I'm proof. I'm still here. I'm doing YouTube having fun, but I'm still here. Not once did I join Beachbody.
If this was my heart, almost some of the most imaginable situations, being in a hospital, being admitted, all these medical emergencies sometimes, things are a lot more calm now. But back then it wasn't. It was crazy chaos. And it was like, if I was still hitting Success Club, if I was still showing up in a challenge group, then what was they didn't have an excuse, you know? And
I still was in Success Club despite all of this. What's their excuse? They don't have an excuse.
it was like, okay, well, if she's doing that, then I can do this. And I think, you know, by sharing and being vulnerable and being real, it showed people, not only like challengers and coaches, but just people in the community that were watching me, that like to show up for themselves. Like,
let's say this word together. Manipulation.
if I could do this and show up in my heart, they could show up in theirs. And it just inspired people, and not in like a condescending way, but in a way that gave them the power back to do this for themselves too. Because I think, especially in the niche that I'm in, moms fall in the last bit. Like every ounce of their energy goes to their child and all of the medical complexities that can exist. And some of these women have had some really far worse traumas than I've endured. And it's like, if I can show them and give them a light and a little bit of positivity and make them feel just a little bit better, like it gives so much purpose to all my pain. And I feel like now being able to show people that it does get better, and kind of like peeling the light back of like life 2 years after the NICU does get better. Like it just, of all the shit we went through, I feel like it just gives so much purpose to our pain. And so,
see, I can show people that life can get better with situations like that, because, you know, first of all, I did lose my son, and yeah, that it still hurts and the pain's still there, and, you know, but things can get better, and I can prove that
without being part of Beachbody, without manipulating anybody. And that's why I'm still part of some of these groups, is because I can be there for them to show them that things are better without trying to recruit them.
I think this is one of my favorite quotes by Morgan Harper Nichols. It says, "Tell the story of the mountain you climb, your words become a page in someone else's survival guide." And it's literally on my on like my vision board for this year, because it's just, I always just thought that if I could help one person not feel the way I felt, and that was what I said whenever I signed up to coach, and it just continues to be the way of that. Like, this business and this opportunity has given us so much, like my family and my husband, I mean, just all of us. And I'm just, and like, far outside of, you know, the income and just like the programs, because we all know those are amazing. It's like the community and the connection that came from me putting us on this platform and sharing about my son. Like, I literally wouldn't have like 90% of my friends if it wasn't for that. Like,
you're literally bragging about manipulating people and using them.
So I say, I know it's scary, but there's so much power in it if you just allow yourself to just peel back.
Yeah. Well, what happens when things don't go the way that you expect them to go? What happens when Beachbody ends their distributor program? What happens when one of your downlines quits? You're going to lose that friend anyway.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot harder in that kind of situation where you're relying on these people. You're not being vulnerable. You're being manipulative is what you're doing.
Like, be vulnerable. Like, there's so much power in vulnerability. Like, you will build so much trust and so much
There's power in being manipulative.
Yeah.
ability, and so much, you will create a layer of support that you never knew existed if you just allow yourself to have that vulnerability. So that's all I got. So I hope that was what you wanted.
She's telling these people, I've said this 2 times already, we're on a Beachbody Zoom call. The purpose of this is to teach you how to grow their business. She's telling them to talk about difficult things in their life so that they can target other people who have been through similar things and use that to make money off of them and scam them into your pyramid scheme.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's no shame here. There's no shame here. Where is the shame? Oh my goodness. Just evil, toxic, manipulative.
Sorry, my computer's like stalling. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I mean, I almost started to cry the last 5 minutes because in that quote you put up, where did I write it? Man, that quote is like huge.
Dude, I'm more angry at the fact that she's trying to manipulate mothers who have sick babies, sick children. But then again, I'm an actual mother who experienced that.
Is it though? I thought it was kind of trite, but whatever.
Holy cow. I know that's why I can see why that's your favorite quote. That is, I've never heard that quote before. Like, that is incredible.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. So much of this has been, like, as hard and unimaginable as it has been for a long time. Like, I'm just so thankful. Like I was telling my, like, I'm just so thankful I never gave up when it was hard, and that I focused on the positives and the things that brought me joy, which was challenges.
Toxic positivity.
To me are like the bread and butter. Like, it is my favorite part of this. It's where I have cultivated like such a close, good community, women that have been coming back for literally like since I've started coaching. Like, they have on the train and coaches themselves, and it's just like, I don't know, like, I'm just so freaking thankful for it, because it has changed my life so much and it's made such an impact. And I don't know where I would be, especially everything played out the way that it did. If coaching had not come into my life when it did, I don't know if I would have had the confidence or the courage to just start sharing him and all this crazy crap, like, without it. You know, it gave me such confidence to share, and because I am such an introvert in real life.
Did it give you confidence to share it, or did it give you motivation to share it? Because I feel like this is you making up excuses because you deep down feel guilty about targeting people who have been through the same things as you, and you're trying to make money off of them by scamming them.
This is so not like, and it's just so ironic because people think the opposite, because I just so effortlessly share in stories and on my page about things. But it's very therapeutic for me to write out posts. Like, it's truly like part of my therapy. I mean, I'm having real therapy now, but like that therapy, like verbalizing all of it, such a release of like, because there's so much with this that it's like, if you keep it all inside, you know, and so allowing it to have an outlet, I don't know. Beachbody just gave me the confidence to do that.
I think people, I don't know if I talk about this a lot, and maybe I don't word it as eloquently as you did, but it's like, there's this secret to this business. I really believe, like, actually, I always say there's no secret to this business. It's just hard work, but there actually probably is a secret to this business, including hard work, which you clearly the consistency piece of your story is like ringing in my ear over here, because you just effing showed up.
See, the big secret to success in multi-level marketing is about less than 1% actually become very successful, and usually you have to get in right when the business starts, whatever you want to consider it, and then you got to recruit lots of people, and then you got to push them and manipulate them into recruiting lots of people. That's the secret to success in multi-level marketing.
Regardless of what was happening, you just kept showing up.
Have to show up for your job when stuff like that happens. You shouldn't have to show up no matter what. Okay? Maybe no matter what when we're talking about like everyday things, but not for that. You shouldn't have to. That's not okay.
No,
just
it's not.
because you can show up doesn't mean you should, and doesn't mean you should ever feel pressured to show up in that situation.
Yeah.
If someone is trying to tell you that you don't have an excuse, you have to show up no matter what, and they're talking about no matter what as in no matter if your newborn baby is in the hospital, your newborn baby weighs like 1 pound and is 12 inches long and is in the intensive care for 180 days, no, you don't have to show up. And if someone tells you that you have to show up, you should tell them, F you.
Yeah.
Like, get the f out. No. That's ridiculous. That's insane, and I can't believe no one here thinks it's insane.
Now, from a mother and father's perspective, my husband did have to work, yes. But they also gave him some time off because they knew I had the babies early. And we did make arrangements with his boss to where we can actually bring him home, because there's this thing called parent care that both parents have to go through, or at least two people have to go through to make sure this baby is going to be taken care of. And they made arrangements for that too. And neither one of us had to work while we did that.
That's probably one of the hardest things for people to do, is just to keep showing up. But I think the magic here, and I've said this before, is that the magic of everything is being open and vulnerable to sharing your own story. Yet that is the part for coaches that just scares the living bejesus out of people. Like, that part of you opening up and sharing parts of your life that it is so scary for you. And I get that. I get that part, how scary it is for you. But you guys, once you consciously understand that it's actually not about you, it's about the people that are listening to your vulnerability and message and the impact that that's going to have on them. You being uncomfortable is like, you start to, that doesn't matter anymore how uncomfortable you are.
It can be, sometimes you just have to like take it like
You.
Okay, while he's doing that, so if you have a story to tell, you don't have to tell it if you don't want to. You know, it is your story to tell, and it's about you. It's not about recruiting anybody else. It's not about manipulating anybody else. My story is my story. If it helps somebody, great. You know, some people won't understand because they've never had a premature baby, and some people will never understand because they've never had a feeding tube for their baby. Like, you know, it's your story to tell. You tell it when you tell it. And it's not about manipulating people. It's about you.
You. Your story actually isn't about you. It's about how you're going to impact the other person who needs to hear your story, guys. And the more open and vulnerable to sharing your own story, yet that is the part for coaches that just scares the living bejesus out of people. Like, that part of you opening up and sharing parts of your life, that it is so scary for you. And I get that. I get that part, how scary it is for you. But you guys, once you consciously understand that.
Do you see how he is pressuring people to overshare on social media?
Yep.
You don't ever have to share details about your personal life for work. It's so surreal. I cannot imagine a situation where you would be pressured in a normal job into oversharing personal details and medical information like this. And it seems like nobody here is disturbed by this.
Yeah.
What? It is manipulative. It is so beyond any measure of professional appropriateness. And I can't believe how none of these people have even the slightest sense that what they're doing could be wrong.
Yeah.
It's actually not about you. It's about the people that are listening to your vulnerability and message and the impact that that's going to have on them. You being uncomfortable is like, you start to, that doesn't matter anymore how uncomfortable you are, because you're aware of the impact your story is having on other people. You have no time to worry about what people think about you being open and
Listen, if anybody is impacted by my story, that's great. That's not why I tell it. For me, I'm comfortable enough to tell, and, you know, and if it helps somebody out, that's wonderful, because I do have a tough story. This guy is just a piece of crap.
all that gets, it's like it's thrown out the window because you're conscious of the fact of the impact that Maria is having on another human being.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's just, you're so scared of that, yet that's the key that unlocks this business. And it's not for the sale.
That's the key that unlocks this business.
It's not to get coaches to get you to diamond. It's to literally be able to like reach out and like affect another human being of what they're going through. But people miss that because we get caught up in our own head. It's an ego thing. We're like, oh, how am I going to share that about me? It's not effing about you. Your story actually isn't about you. It's about how you're going to impact the other person who needs to hear your story, guys. And the more authentic you can be and open, like what Sarah just shared tonight, you guys, this should resonate with you to levels that you have never actually thought about before. because what she had to go and share with people was probably really, really hard. And she didn't have all the answers. She didn't know what she should share or not share. Or but like this call, guy, should really unlock your, like, I want to say soul, because this isn't about you.
I'm sorry, this is manipulating the people in the call too, because it's like, it's ridiculous, because you're encouraging people to manipulate other people and to force them to do something that they may not be comfortable with doing. Yeah, right, Shadow. And it's my dog. It's horrible. Like, it's horrible to use a personal story to convince somebody to join your pyramid scheme. That's horrible. Horrible.
You sharing, it's about what you're going to do for other people, and your story needs to be heard by other people. That's what I want you to get out of this. Sorry, I'm rambling now, but like, it's just,
And my dog
Sarah,
don't like it.
so powerful.
He is so slimy.
Yes.
Yes. It's making me actually shiver.
Right.
How manipulative he is.
So powerful, my gosh. Any questions, guys?
I was gonna say that I think, like, what you were saying about how, like, not having the answers. I am literally living a life where there's, like, no rule. Like, my son, he is riding the wave for, like, doctors being like, I've never seen that before, or I don't know. And you're like, all right, well, we'll just go. I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's part of, well, it's part of parenting in general. Who really knows what they're doing anyway? You just do the best you can every single day, right? This is probably amplified a little bit because sometimes it's a little more crazy and scary. But I think just going scared, going hard, not letting it stop you because you don't have the answers. Like, you're never, especially for people, whatever their struggle is, you might not have all the answers. And I'm not saying I have all the answers for these people. I'm just simply saying this is what's helping me. This is what I'm doing. I don't know. This is a spoon I'm using to feed Sam today. I have no idea if it's going to work. It's going to be funny. We're going to try it. He's going to throw it at me. Like, I don't know, And there's a lot of, also, my husband and I, like, the way we've survived this is humor. I mean, there's been a lot of real, so much hard, but we also, like, have to find humor and just be quirky and funny. And so that's kind of how we've also, we deal with hard things, is also through humor. So it's kind of a thing also on my page, because people always can expect that my husband's gonna say something random or funny, and that's just how we deal with uncomfortable things sometimes, is because it's so, you can't be so serious. It's like, as serious as all of our stuff can be, sometimes you just have to, like, take it lighthearted and not take everything so seriously, because when we have so much that's serious, I need something to be funny. and not so dang serious,
I want to ask you a question that I'm going to put you on the spot, and I don't even know if like because I touched on it at the start of the call. So why was coaching so important to you? What about it?
Initially, it was that I really needed something for myself. My mom raised me super independent, like, kind of like never depend on a man type of personality, And so I went to nursing school and had my own job, and I always thought I would go back to nursing. I'm not doing that because I'm a nurse in my own house now, but and because of coaching, obviously. But it was like, whenever I stopped at working, I had this void, because I'm like Enneagram 2 helper type person. That is me. And I was like, I have this void of, like, I love my children. This is what
I'm wondering if, because I had a niece who was also special needs, and by the way, the government will pay you to be a nurse to one of your relatives, like, whether it's disability. I'm not sure about for a child, but it makes you wonder. I don't know her living situation. But with multi-level marketing, they like to make it seem like they're making more than what they actually are. So I'm a little skeptical on that. So we'll see.
What I always wanted, but I'm like, what am I going to be? Like, what else is there for me, type of thing? And I just had this big void, and I didn't so feel it after my first as I felt it really after my second, of like, I need something stimulating,
And that's what a therapist will tell a mother, especially of two children like me, and everything I've been through. But, you know, you need something for yourself because it is true. Whether it's she somehow likes Beachbody with, I don't understand how any woman could find therapy in that. I mean, but that's also, you know, once again, we are starting to manipulate the people in this call that, you know, this is the way to go, something to do for yourself. When actually, like with me, my YouTube, I don't have to pay a thing. I mean, I bought a couple props, but I don't have to pay a thing. Writing a book, I gotta pay for a book cover, and I got editors, but sorry, I don't pay you guys. You guys, I love you, but you don't have to do multi-level marketing for yourself. You can do anything, and this is where I feel like she's kind of getting back into that manipulation. Let's see, because it's been over a year since I watched this.
Adult, like something I need to be learning something, doing something, and so I just had this like pull of still wanting to help people. At the time, there was still a part of me that wanted to go back to nursing.
Multi-level marketing really doesn't help people. Beachbody likes to concentrate more on the shakes, but when it comes down to the exercises, like they had a contract a while ago with that one exercise bike company, I can't remember, and it was a stupid name anyways, and like, you know, ever so often they will change up the program. I think it's like every quarter or something like that, and then the consultants, the coaches, have to go and buy more of those products as well. You know, they got to be part of the program, and they also have to purchase what else is part of that exercise program. But like Deanna Mims has said before, they like to push more on the shakes than they do the exercise programs.
Eventually, and I was like, you know, this kind of crossed all the boxes. I could help other people. It gave me a community that I needed. It gave me some side money, because at the time, again, I didn't necessarily start because I needed, like, we had these big aspirations for this. It was like, I want to go to Target and I don't want to tell my husband what I'm spending money on. You know, I don't want him to be like, you spent $200. Like, I just want to spend $200.
And this would be the point where if I was making the comments to her, that my therapist would probably tell me to like actually go find a part-time job, you know, where you're not using the money to buy this stuff, because more than likely she's putting more money in than what she's getting back. That's usually how multi-level marketing works.
I was used to having income of my own, and while he's not really that person anyway, the independent part of me, like, just wants my own thing, like, just wanted my own piece. And that was honestly a big driving factor for me continuing on, was like, it was so important for me to maintain this, because
see, I want to do something for myself like that, you know, something I could, you know, do for me. That's why I do YouTube. It doesn't cost me a thing. I may not be able to be monetized right now. Like, I may never be monetized. You know, and if this video later YouTube says, well, you can't monetize it because this belongs to Mac Attack, I'll be like, you know, that's cool. Because right now, this video is more of a message to expose this kind of stuff. You know, I'm doing this for fun. I'm doing this because this is my out as a mother, you know, so I can identify more than just being a mom. That's what I've been told by therapists. That's what I've been told by, you know, in the group sessions that I did. You know, it's okay to be more than just a mom, and that's where they got her.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. I wanted it, like you were saying, like what Kim achieved, she wanted it. You know what I mean? And this is kind of like with me, the beginning of this year, like I was like elite. When I came home from NLC, I was like, literally wrote the date down on my whiteboard of when summit qualification was. I was like, this is happening. Who's with me? And like just went live on my team page and just got really vulnerable and was like, I finally made it here to this place.
She needed to qualify for summit. And she said this, she just said it. So she went on the team page and got really vulnerable. Like, it's like the direct association of the tactic.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I need more coaches. Let me get vulnerable.
Yeah.
Which
Manipulation.
seemed like impossible in the last 2 years, but I'm here and I see it and it's so clear in front of me now. And I'm like, who wants to do this with me? Like, because Elite is a team thing. It's not an I thing. I can't just create diamonds out of nothing. You can't get pulled.
Yeah, she wanted to know why she wanted to go to Summit. Because FOMO, fear of missing out. They use that especially a lot too as well. Well, I have this great opportunity with only 2 spots left when really there's no limited anything.
Points from nothing. You need people doing the things, and it just like I feel like I've always been a lot of an ambitious person, and I think like a lot of that had been tamed with Sam. Like I was only allowed to do so much, and now that he's healthier, I mean there's always going to be things, but now that he's healthier and we're not in such a crazy phase, it was like foot on the gas type of moment for me of like, this is my moment. I don't know what else is going to happen this year, but I'm going to do it while I can do it. And that's, I also know he's just taught me the gift of life of like, there's no day that's guaranteed because as you know, with what you've been through, like tomorrow's not promised and I'm going to live what I want to live and I'm going to do it while I can freaking do it. And I don't know, that's a long drawn out answer to your question.
That was good. Any?
I have a question.
All right.
So I just got done watching this video, and it upset me this time like it did the last. Surprise, surprise. So my ending thoughts are, if you're ever approached by somebody who wants you to join their multi-level marketing company, be very wary, because it's just, you're gonna more likely lose money. It's all on their own websites of their compensation plans, and they don't even include how much you spent. But as a mom with a former NICU baby, that's really pathetic to use that to get people to join Beachbody. It's pathetic. From what Mac had told me, he was going to originally try to send me this video, but he was sure it was not going to happen because the original video got put down. So we don't know if Beachbody themselves made it go down because it made them look bad. I don't know what happened to anybody that was in this call afterwards, because he had posted this October 5th of 2020. So some time has gone by. But whether this mother has quit Beachbody or not, I do wish her well with her child, because I know how difficult it at least is to take care of a child with a feeding tube. But, please don't send any hate if you know who she is. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video at any time, please like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the bell to know when I go live, which is usually Mondays at 2 o'clock Central Time, where I go and mess with scammers. And I usually post videos on Thursdays, and it looks like it's going to be Tuesdays instead of Mondays because procrastination. Thank you all for watching. Take care.